Hello? Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. It seems a little silly to use the microphone, but I'm hoping that we can get this all. We are going to record it for those of you viewers that aren't here. You can watch the candidates' presentations and make informed decisions at home. So the way tonight's going to work is I'm going to briefly introduce myself, and then I'm going to turn it over to the candidates. They're going to answer 2 rounds of questions, and then we're going to do Q&A. So what's going to happen is the first round of questions, they've all selected to answer one of 2 questions in what we're calling the A group of questions. And they each have 5 minutes to introduce themselves and answer that question. And then we'll go from A to Z, and then we'll repeat that process. They have just recently selected a question that they will answer, that we're calling the B section of questions. We're also going to do the same presentation tomorrow, starting at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow, and that will be in ES NPR 1. So if you wish to attend any of those sessions, you're welcome to do so. The only difference is in that session, we'll answer the questions in the reverse order, but other than that, it will be the same, okay? And so just to start off, I'm gonna just read the 2A questions so that you guys in the audience will have some idea of what the candidates are answering. And so the A1 question says, what has motivated you to stand as a candidate this year? Are there any other key issues that you feel personally enthused about bringing to the Board of Governors and the school community for discussion? So that's A1. And the other question is, what specific skills and experience would you bring to the AES board to promote and support the mission of the school? So those are the 2 questions, okay? So I will hand it over to Adele, and then she will pass it on. And as a reminder, you guys have 5 minutes total to introduce yourselves and answer the question. Okay?
Hi, good evening. My name is Adele Gillen. I'm new to AES, and I'm new to New Delhi this year. I have 3 children, 2 of whom started in the elementary school here at AES in 4th and 3rd grades. And I have a soon-to-be kindergartner who will be coming here next year. I'm supposed to provide a few interesting facts about myself. I've been in the U.S. State Department for 14 years, but I'm here right now on a leave of absence. My husband is working at the U.S. Embassy. And India is the 6th country, where we have the 6th foreign country where we've lived and worked. So we're very happy to be here. I chose to answer the question about skills and experience. So our last assignment was in Brasilia, where I served on our school board there at the American School of Brasilia. It was a fantastic experience for me, but there was a steep learning curve. So I think that one of the most important things I would bring to the board is an understanding of what the role of a board member is, how you have to leave your perspective as a parent at the door, look at the school from the strategic level to be able to put in place a framework of policies and strategic decisions to help the school thrive now and well into the future. I've been working in education, and especially developing cross-cultural understanding for my whole career with the State Department. So I understand that we have a diverse community and have a good perspective on the ways that you need to be cognizant of the varying needs of these diverse communities, the cultural differences, and I have a good experience in finding ways to be able to find common ground and common understanding to solve the problems and the challenges in our shared institution here as the school. And third, I really feel like I've spent this year being pretty involved in the school, and I've loved it. And I think a good board member is somebody who's enthusiastic about the school, but also has a healthy, constructive criticism So I've been on the PSA here, which I have learned a lot about the history of the school, the culture of the community here, some of the ongoing challenges. I've been a class parent, so it's been fantastic to be able to be in the class, seeing the kind of teaching and learning that goes on here, and then just floating around the community, getting a sense of all of the things that happen here. I've been very impressed. We're very happy to be here, and I'd love to be able to contribute to the school by being on the board.
Hello, my name is Lea Malka. English is not my first language, and we are only 3 months in New Delhi, so I'll do my best here. This is our first posting. My husband is the Israeli ambassador, and now I'm the Israeli ambassador's wife. This is my title. But in Israel, 4 months ago, I was the CEO of a food company that was part of a very big food industry in Israel, and I managed the company for 5 years. And before I was the marketing manager of the company, I sat in the board of our company for 5 years. We manage all our strategic plans. I've been involved in the finance side of our business, in recruiting, in all the aspects of the business that was part of my board responsibility. I believe that a board member should not deal with the everyday business, where the board should look at the long-term strategy, should build a long-term plan and to see how to get it, this long-term plan. And especially it should enable to the team that really works, the faculty, the teachers, to do their work as the best way they can do it. So we are I see the board as the enabler of the faculty, and to be the one that gives the North Campus to where the school should go, and where should the school invest now is looking at the future and seeing where the school wants to go, where the education is going, and where the things that were the mission that we have set is that we are working on the daily basis to see that that everything we do is under the mission that we have set. I see mainly even in the business that I work, but here is the faculty. There where I worked with people that the faculty, they are the leaders of the school, and we have to give them all the opportunity to hear them, to be involved, and to guide them when things are getting a little complicated. We need to support them and to give them all the tools to succeed. I have experience, of course, in managing the large organizations, in finance, resource. I was involved in research, development, and I hope to contribute from my knowledge here to school. We are very happy in school, only 3 months here, but it was a very struggling 3 months to move in the middle of the year. And we got so much help, and we can see all the beautiful side of the school, how everyone just came to help us, and we had our tough times. Some of the teachers that are sitting here saw me. And I saw the beautiful thing here in school that combines with the support in education, but also in support with the student as a person, to see the student, to see his needs, and to give him all the support he needs. So as a board, we need to support the faculty that's doing this job every day, and not an easy job. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thanks for the time. My name is Tahi Ofer, 40 years old, married to a beautiful wife named Dana, and a father for 3 kids. Alona, she's in the 2nd grade, Omri, K4, and Nadav will join the American school next year. I'm Vice President of Elbit Systems of India Private Limited, and this is a subsidiary of Elbit Systems, which is the biggest defense company in Israel. And my role is to promote all the businesses and new leads of the Aerospace division, because I'm acting as its representative. I have an electrical and engineering degree, and I mastered MBA in Israel. I think that one of my passions, the biggest passions, is beside my kids, is kite surfing. I don't have here a lot of chances to do that. I want to fly to Sri Lanka to do that, but yeah, it gives me the freedom and it clears my mind, and I really like it. I chose A1. What is motivated me to be a candidate this year? So I feel that I have the opportunity of being an integral part of the American Embassy School. I think that I can bring the capability and the strength, although I'm not from the educational world, but I give my strength in business development and marketing and thinking out of the box. In Israel, you could be part of like a PSA or a room parents organization, but you are not as involved as being, I think, in the board of members here. So I think it's a good opportunity for me to improve and to be more involved in the community. I want to raise an issue that I think that's happened to everyone here. We moved last July, 2018, and for us it was like a roller coaster. Different culture, different language, different country, different friends, both for the kids and the parents. And I think that maybe we could, of course, with the help of the supportive professional team here, maybe we could ease this transition and adjustment period to be more maybe fun, or I don't know how to say, but it was very challenging for us at the beginning, but now we've started to enjoy, so all is good.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming today and allowing us to introduce ourselves. My name is Peter Reed. I'm a Deputy Managing Director and Corporate Vice President for Samsung Electronics Southwest Asia operations, and that include Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Nepal. So my responsibility within our office is the Chief Relations Office. I basically handle all the external relations for operations, which span across different product divisions, consumer electronics, mobile phones, network systems, etc. So it's about a $10 billion business. I came to India last May after 18 years of working in Seoul, Korea, working in the headquarters for Samsung. My family luckily joined me last August, so I have two kids here. Athena, 12, she's in the 7th grade. Liam, age 7, first grade. I think I have 3 or so unique qualities that I think would contribute to the board. The first is a strong understanding of different cultures. I lived in the States for 26 years after immigrating from Korea. I was born in Korea. And then after business school, I went to work for Samsung for 18 years. So strong understanding of the 2 biggest constituent groups in AES. And within my career at Samsung, I've traveled much been to all the countries that are represented here at the student body. Secondly, I have a strong passion and unique understanding of the education space. And so I'm also a governing board member of UNESCO's NGIE. So that's the Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Education and Peace. That's based in Delhi. It's a Category 1 institute of UNESCO, and it focuses on Sustainable Development Goal 4, which looks at education, as well as 4.7 that looks at sustainable societies. And so, they focus on unique ways of teaching, such as digital education, gamification, social emotional learning, which is becoming a very hot topic as there's lots of disruptions around the world. And so that's the second factor. And then lastly, this is my personality. I'm very collaborative. I've got very friendly, results-oriented, and a strategic thinker. So those are some of the qualities that I think would help me become a strong board member here. I also have chosen to talk about A-1. And so I've got a couple reasons why I'm motivated to be a board member here. The first is I'd like to get more in touch with my children. I work such long hours, I don't see them. I see them pretty much like 20 minutes per night, and I have to play golf on the weekends. And so that doesn't give me too much time, so I'd like to get into their world. I'd like to understand what they're facing, and it's a totally different environment from when I went to school. I'd like to really be an involved stakeholder in what they're thinking, what's going through their minds. And so that's the first point. I think the second point is it's a unique opportunity to make a difference in India. I think that we think of AES as just a school, but it's much larger than that. India is really becoming a force within the global environment. India will be number 2, number 3 biggest market in the world, biggest consumer market in the world. And what will really drive the integration with the global economy is businesses, diplomatic missions, and a primary factor in deciding to come to India is the schools. That was definitely a primary factor for me. If there was no good school in India, I'd have a hard time convincing my wife and my kids to come to India. So it plays such an important role, and I'd like to contribute to that too.
It's just one question, right? The second one you come back. There's one. Okay, so you have time to go first. Good evening. My name is Anand Stanley, and I'm the husband of Tiffany Stanley, the beautiful woman there, who's the only one in the room who's nervous about all the candidates. I was born in India, but I'm a U.S. citizen and mostly from the East Coast at this point of time. We moved here about 8 or 9 months ago, from Singapore. And for those of you who think that moving here is easy for Indians, it's not. It starts all over again when you come back to Delhi. So it's for everyone, the challenges. We have 3 children, beautiful children, one of them in 6th grade, a boy in 6th grade, middle schooler, and 2 elementary, in 3rd grade, 1st grade. And we've loved the community here, and that was one of our key reasons, just like Peter, to move here. In terms of unique, interesting aspects of mine, I think there's nothing really unique about me when I listen to all these candidates, because it's a lot of similarities that we bring to the table in terms of culture and diversity. I've lived in 8 countries, mostly outside of India for more than 2 decades, in Africa, in Ghana, in Tunisia, with my kids in Turkey and Singapore, in multiple international schools. And also had the opportunity to speak multiple languages, Turkish and Arabic. My wife did her degree in Japanese. So we really believe in this kind of a newly inclusive and diverse environment. What motivates me and what skills do I bring to the table? So to me,
I've been on multiple boards. My most important qualification is really that I'm a parent of 3 kids. That's what matters. But for boards, you need to do the right thing. That's the most important thing. You need to have long-term focus on your strategic planning initiatives. You need to focus on things that are right in terms of what problems we face on the environment, facilities. But boards also need to drive to make sure we do things right, not just focusing on the right things, which is the audit committees, finance, and policy. And lastly, to be a board member, a good board member, it's not just about volunteering and doing good service. It's not just about being a leader but not volunteering, or having both but not having the experience. I've been on multiple boards. I've been on the alumni board for the University of Virginia. I've been on multiple nonprofits, including United Way. I'm the chairman of the Indian Industry Chamber of Aerospace and Civil Aviation for India, recently elected. I currently lead 6,500 employees as the CEO of Airbus for Airbus Civil Aviation, Defense Helicopters and Space, and the Engineering Center. Also done that prior to this with Lockheed Martin and with UTC, with large, diverse regions. We've also led the merger between Linde and Praxair, which is a $90 billion merger. So I've dealt with fairly complex financial issues. But lastly, on experience. Experience is not about what your resume says, it's how you deal with people, how you deal with stakeholders. For me, my stakeholders are my children, just like everyone else here. My stakeholders are also the community that helped me land in this country. But lastly, the people who really unlock where we want to go is not any of these 2 communities as much as we need to take care. It's the administration and the faculty. I think you have a great principal here and director in Jim Blaney, who's really, I've heard, he's doing phenomenal things in the last year. And the most important people here are really how do you unlock the faculty, how do you simplify things for them, so and get systems, processes, and people out of the way. How do you really help them in terms of getting clarity, in terms of vision and resources to help them get the community and the children to where they need to get to. And lastly, help them focus on what they need to focus on because they know their job and they know how to do it. And that's what leaders do. And to me, every one of us on this board are equally qualified to this. And I vote, if I had a chance, that we add 6 board members, but that is all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lina Winnie. I'm a Ugandan and an environmentalist. I support the goals of the environmental movement, which is a scientific, political, and social movement that addresses environmental issues. I advocate for the sustainable management of resources and the stewardship of the environment through changing public policy and changing individual behavior. My husband and I have 4 children, Abby in grade 6, Arona in grade 4, Luke in grade 2, and Levi, who is 2 years old and at home. This is our first year at AES. I received my bachelor's degree in environmental management from Uganda, where I was then retained as a teaching assistant and later as an assistant lecturer under the same program. I have a master's degree in natural resource management from the University of Greenwich in the United Kingdom. Over the years, I've worked individually and on teams on issues of environmental risk, conflict management, communications, environmental impact assessments, regulatory compliance mechanisms for the banking sector. And all this I have done through several consultancy firms, working with the National Environment Management Authority in my country, Uganda, and also at the International Finance Corporation in Washington, D.C., where they have an environmental and social department. I'm an avid reader. I consider the best ambience in the world to be inside the walls of a library. I like to do research and explore all my options before I come up with a conclusion. And I'm also a very good team worker. I multitask great, with qualities which I think have been also greatly enhanced by juggling 4 children. Upon arrival at AES, I took advantage of the volunteer opportunities that were offered us. So I have served on the facilities committee for the MSA accreditation process. I am also a member of the apparent volunteer on the environment and facilities committee for the board. And through that, I've gained insight into the workings of the school, and I would like to volunteer more. That's why I'm here. What motivated me to stand for the board, to run for the board? The first reason is that I have all my school-going children are here, so I have vested interest in the current and future direction of this institution. Also, AES is a unique school. Not only is it a great school, it is also located in India, a country with stark environmental challenges. And for me, the fact that AES acknowledges those challenges and tackles them head-on arouses the desire in me to sit at the table where decisions are made for this great environmental aware institution. The issues I'm most enthused about are air quality, water safety, inclusion, and outstanding learning. Given an opportunity, I will be able to bring my environmental knowledge to bear in the board making decisions.
Great, thank you. So we're going to do this again. This is the B set of questions, and just for you guys in the audience or watching this, I'll read there are 3 B questions, and each of the candidates has drawn one, so they will answer one of these questions. They have 3 minutes to do so. B1 says, in your opinion, what is the role of the AES board? What is your definition of an exemplary board member? B2 says, how can the board support the administration with the process of increasing enrollment? And B3 says, AES has recently published its statement on inclusion. What are your thoughts about how that would affect the school? Okay, so we'll go in the same order, and you guys have 3 minutes to answer this. Here you go.
So I do the question on, excuse me, enrollment. I think that first and foremost, the thing that's going to affect enrollment the most is the excellence of the school. And the board's role in ensuring that is by ensuring that the school is living up to its mission and being as excellent an institution as it can. A place where people know that their children will have a wonderful education, a positive experience, be welcomed, and grow into their full potential. So with that kind of reputation, you'll be able to attract great teachers, retain them by investing in facilities. These are the pictures that the board should be looking at all the time, whether or not there's an enrollment challenge. But with that particularly in mind, I think the board's biggest role in that is to hold the administration accountable for meeting their enrollment goals, for being a sounding board on their strategies to increase enrollment, and by providing a bigger perspective. What are the factors here now going forward that should make the school the right size? What are the factors that the school can control? Have sound financial policies in place, appropriate pricing for tuition. But then also, is the school mitigating the factors that are outside of its control? Things like a changing footprint for diplomatic missions, the air quality that makes so many families avoid New Delhi. And with that in mind, I think that the board will be able to support the administration in finding the right level for enrollment and being able to attract the number of families and students that they really want to.
I got question B3. I think that diversity in school develops global citizens, and we want global citizens when we come here. It contributes to both sides. I think the children develop their empathy to others, to see the other person, to see his difficulties, and to see how he overcomes them. And the children that gets the help and gets the support from the school can get the feeling that they are loved and accepted. we need in school to support this program with occupational therapy, speech therapy, and guidance to those children. And I have to say that when I read it, I personally loved it very much because it combines not just the excellence that we want to go to school with grades and numbers, and I have a high schooler that is looking at wants to go to the IB, and he has grades, and all the time the school involves also the social and the emotional side of things, and in the pursuit of grades and the pursuit of being excellent, we have to always remember it's not just being a human being, but also being human throughout the process. So it's something that this program can give so much to our children throughout the process, and to contribute, of course, to the community that can be more tolerant and can be more acceptance to all sorts of difficulties.
I'm on B1 answer. So as I see it, an AES board's objective is to act as the decision maker, the main decision maker, and the strategic planning that should be in the long term for all school aspects. And when each aspect needs to get equal or proportional weight and importance depending on the objectives and the goals of this strategic implementation. An exemplary role member is the one that, on the one hand, he needs to have enough passion in order to push forward and bring up his own ideas and initiatives, but on the other hand, he has enough openness in order to accept the other ideas in order to be as a community and to have more very good board.
So I have the second question, how do we increase the enrollment? So I think there's two factors that go into enrollment. I think the number one factor is the reputation of the school. And so I think the role of the board is to build policies that will drive reputation around several areas, the quality of the education. So what kind of policies on IB and AP, as well as other factors to enhance the learning experience to make it truly an excellent academic institution is one. Secondly, I think the role of teachers are definitely very important to build the reputation of the school. And so how do you bring in the best teachers and retain them? And then I think also the parents of the school are very important. So how do you interact and make them satisfied with AES is some of the key areas that I would focus on. Secondly, what areas what demographic, what segments are we not potentially thinking about that we could target in the future to drive home? Those are the things that I would think.
Thank you, Peter. So my question, just a really cool one, is about the inclusive education statement, which really talks about how do we diverse learners and how do we nurture a culture of belonging and support the learners. I love it. My wife and I, we just moved last year from Singapore, and Singapore American School. And we love AES, but I do want to let you know there are other good schools too, and Singapore American School is incredible in terms of how they deal with different kinds of children. Whether there's different learning needs, whether you're gifted, all the way to whether you have special needs, or how you deal with different children at different stages of of their education. And lastly, it's also taking into aspect what culture you have, what culture you do not have. You could be Indian, you could be Korean, but also if you're Indian and you want to learn Mandarin, how do you really immerse yourself into that kind of a situation? And how do you have a community that supports us, where the diversity brings you together? So the beauty in being Korean, being Israeli, and bringing it together rather than having different communities apart, exclusive. And lastly, using technology. You're the cradle of technology today in this part of the world, and how do we really develop diverse education to do that in terms of digital leveraging that? And also there's all the classic concept of counselors. How do counselors help us in terms of different learning needs? But to me, yes, they can help us, but it's more important that you've got the right administration, you've got the right faculty. How do we get the right strategic plan to give the right tools, right resources to create and take that inclusive learning to the next level? In the next 2 years, next 5 years, the investments behind that, the technology behind that, the processes behind that, the strategic vision and execution behind that. So to me, it's a great idea, it's a great thought, but it's a long journey. I just want to make sure that we get that. And I think a lot of the parents today, this is one of the top things on their mind. I've got 3 kids, very different stages. They're great at music but can't do well in SATs, etc., etc. So let's unlock this and let's get the right resources if we can get there.
Thank you. My question is B1. In your opinion, what is the role of the AES board? And what is your definition of an exemplary board member? The role of the AES board is to establish a vision that then sets the direction and focus of the school. With input and advice from the administration, the board will be able to set policies that reflect that vision, ensuring that ideas are realized. And the set policies will then guide those in charge of running the day-to-day activities of the school. The board would also, another role of the board is to evaluate results, and it is continuously updated on how the policies are being realized. The board hires the director, it approves budgets and fees, it oversees other fiduciary aspects of the school according to the charter and policies, in essence ensuring that resources are available at the right time and place. And generally it has goals to meet, which are that it maintains AES as a destination school with outstanding learning. It maintains the goal of ensuring that AES is a strong institution with world-class faculty and modern facilities, and that it is healthy and growing both in the short and the long term. What is my definition of an exemplary board member? I think that a board member should be able to demonstrate enhanced communication skills, able to listen to the hopes and dreams of the parents, the teachers, the staff. One who is also able to stay current by reading, in other words, a lifelong learner, able to appreciate diversity of opinion so that there is consensus in decision making, one that can blend in so that board works as a board and not as an individual, and one that's willing to put in the time to serve the community. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So these are the 2 sets of questions. So in a second we'll open it up for Q&A, but just to be clear, so we're going to do this again tomorrow. You guys get to answer the same questions again. You're welcome to come also. So that's tomorrow at 8:30, and then the voting actually opens tomorrow at noon, and then closes the 22nd of April. Did I get that right? 22nd of April. So the voting will open tomorrow at noon, okay? So, but I think now is a great time. We're all sitting here, and I'm sure if you have a question, this is a great time that we can ask, so you guys.
Excuse me, my name is Bernie Anker, I teach in high school. And I'm super excited to have you guys all up there. Thank you for putting so much forward. Need to finish by talking a little bit about the time that it takes to be a board member. And I know, Peter, maybe it was in jest a little bit, but talking about not having enough time to spend with your kids, having commitments on the weekends. I guess this is for Peter and everybody, but how do you feel like you'll be able to balance the time commitments that it takes to be on the board and to really help lead the school?
So I think two things. I think the passion and the interest in what we're doing here, the commitment. I was supposed to be in Korea today. I have a massive crisis on my hands at work, but I had made I was just very determined to come here. So that's one. The second is, I think we have predetermined dates of our commitments here. So to be mindful of those dates and to structure events around that is what I would do.
Sure. I'll take that question too, because similar to Peter, my leadership globally is changing as we speak right now in a press conference, and my boss has just changed as we speak, and I'm here. So it's a question of what are the 1 or 2, 3 things that matter to you in terms of priorities, and to me, I have only 4 priorities: my 3 kids and my wife. So I think it's all about, and I think Jim, you said it once. It's not about it's not about just the quality of time. It's also the quantity. And so you actually have to put quantity and do it.
Oh, for me, it's an easy question. Okay, I'm not working, but one of my purposes when I came to India and left my job and not intending to work is to be involved more in the community. I've dreamed of it, that I have more time, and now I have more time, so I decided to spend this time in being more involved in my community, my Israel community, the school community, and also to volunteer wherever I can help and wherever my qualifications are good. So it's easy.
Well, I'm also not working right now, so it's given me flexibility to be on the PTA and room parent. It's kind of my year to do it, because I've always worked and I've had this leave of absence, and it's been wonderful. But those things are really structured for somebody who's not working. I'll be going back to work next year. And so, but it will be telecommuting, so I'll have a little bit of flexibility. I do think technology can also, for people who have other commitments, if you can't be here physically, we can Skype, we can FaceTime, we can find a way for people who can't be physically present to still participate and provide the service on the board.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out tonight and for running for the board. My name is Eugene Bay. I'm a parent of 2 children, and many of you spoke to how your future role, perhaps as a board member, supersedes your role as a parent. Granted, it never replaces that role, but it's something where you have to kind of think bigger than just as a parent. But as a parent, I want to ask you a question and ask you to put on your parent hat. I think AES is an amazing school, and as I think as Peter and some others have said, it was a driving factor for why we came to India. And for me, it was returning to India after a 17-year break. My question to you as parents running for the board is this. Is there something that you've observed at the school as a parent that you thought, I wish it weren't quite that way? Or I I wish it were a little bit better in this factor or this dimension. And the reason I ask this question is because I'm convinced that we sit where we stand. And as a board member, you're thinking strategically, but you will forever be influenced by those issues that are core to you as a person, as a parent. And so I'm trying to get a sense for what have you seen in your time here that as a parent, you're like, I would like to tackle that. I would like to see some improvement.
So, yeah, on the board, you have to, leave your kids outside and think a different way about the school, but you make a good point, Eugene. So something that I don't fully understand, and I think perhaps the school could improve, is the use of test data to improve teaching and learning. It's not clear to me as a parent how, when my kids take the math test, that information then influences what happens in the classroom. I know that the math test is a very powerful tool. Maybe the school is using it in a deeper way than I'm aware, but it's probably something that the school could be using more. I don't want to see more standardized testing, per se, but I want it to be a tool that the school uses to make sure the kids can reach their greatest potential. And it's not very clear to me in my first year here just how that's happening. I see that much more clearly in other forms of assessment. The conferences, the stuff that comes home, feedback I get from my kids. But in terms of how math data and standardized tests work, in terms of influencing the teaching in the classroom, that's something that maybe the school can grow in, or maybe I'm not aware of how fully it's being used.
So there's board topics, right? Enrollment and many other things. But you're talking about if I have a parent, I've got this magic wand. What can I wish for? I mean, I've got 3 kids, very different learning capabilities. So I mean, yes, the academic rigor that can be customized to them to really excel is something that we always gives us a little bit of sleepiness at night, or And secondly, coming to Delhi, one thing that hits you is, wow, sports. I mean, how do we get out? How do these kids run every day? I mean, how can you do track and field every day? How can they, swim every day all year? So it really hits every parent who moves here when they do that. And you wish you could do something about it. Is the second thing you wish about. And I'm a Boy Scout leader. Almost every week or every 2 weeks or whenever I can, that I go and do camping with these kids. So I wish we could do. And each of us in the room have different needs, something different as parents, which are very individual and specific. And I think that's what's important, that we need to try and take things to the next step and unlock it, especially you've got the right administration now, you've got great faculty. How do we really unlock some of these things?
For me, the thing that I would like to see more inclusion. I noticed, I don't know if it is something that, if it is something that AES can do something about, but yeah, I would like to see more inclusion. My daughter, who is in 6th grade, was very excited the other day to see somebody that looks like her. Yeah, so if we would have more African representation in the school, that would be really nice. I don't mind
So I've talked with a number of people, including my colleagues. One SVP that I talked to, he literally spent about 20 minutes coming here, had lunch, and out of a 30-minute conversation, he spent 20 minutes on AES. How he loved his school when he was here 10 years ago, and really just was spending a lot of time talking about AES, and also the past ambassador to the U.S., to India, about the school, and several others. And the general feedback, pretty consistent, is that the school may not be in the same reputational footing that it had several years ago. And so, as a board member, I would really think about why that is, or how to qualify that and work on that, because I think that it's got a very good reputation and it could be much better. And so that's the consistent sort of feedback that I get. So that would be a big focus of mine.
Hi, I'm Kishore Verma, high school teacher and parent of a middle schooler and elementary student. A few of you mentioned teacher retention as an important issue, and I'd be interested to hear you speak to what you see as the key factors in maintaining high levels of teacher retention and what the board's role within that is.
So I was a member of one of the committees as a volunteer this year, and what I had seen was, I was just looking at the scores across the school in terms of just academic success to the satisfaction, etc. And I was looking at the middle school really struggled last year, and I was surprised to see that. And there was a real dip there. And what ended up, and I'm just a parent looking at it, right? I don't want to open a can of worms here, but which will get me to trouble. But I was just looking at it, and it seemed like there was a lot of, you have the right teachers, you have the right talented people, but there was a leadership change. There was a vacuum for some time, and all of a sudden things were falling apart. That's a strong word, but so. When you talk about board role, right? I mean, you've got to have the right people at the right places, and you have to ensure that you take the complexity and these hurdles out of the way in the right time, so that it's the same teachers, the same quality of teachers in elementary and middle school. So why was the attention lacking, or why was there a result changing? So these are areas where the board can play a role to support, not to oversee or micromanage.
And I'm only 3 months here, so I'll give you, my really poor observation here. But I have to say that when you deal with your faculty as leaders, and you treat them like leaders, and you invest in them, you have this program of how to enhance their academic skill, how to enhance their psychological skills. You can build this program and budget it. Of course, it's always it falls when the budget comes. But when you do it, and you do it like ahead, you look at it like not just 1 year program, but you look at it like 3 years program, and you could manage it, and not every time that your lack of budget, this is the first thing usually that we take out, is all those researchers that they are not very, you cannot really see the result in 1 year usually. So if you can look and build a program for 3 years, you can see that the program is never touched. I said this is like this in the budget. You always have this space, white spaces that you leave. That if something gets wrong, this is the first thing that goes. So if you look at it, I said this is one of the most important thing in my strategy, to have the teachers always get their support, and this is they have to get their support. We are here in India, you don't have external here ways to get support. We need to bring it here to school, and you budget it 3 years. I think we can see a good result, not in the first year, but throughout the years.
Well, as far as I No, the single biggest factor in a child thriving in school is great teaching and great teachers. So it seems to me that should be pretty much the #1 priority of the administration, to attract and retain great teachers. But teaching is a job. Everybody needs to be fairly and competitively compensated. You know, there are, just like we in the Foreign Service, there are additional factors you consider about the places you go and why you should choose to live in one place or another. But ultimately, you have to really enjoy your job if you're going to stick with it. So I think the board's role is to ensure fair and competitive compensation, but also in setting the culture and the policies of the school, make sure it's a place where people can feel respected, valued, have the space to grow as a professional and as an individual, and be able to take chances on something that might develop into a passion, you know, not just stay in the same box of teaching, if that's your profession, that you always are. Otherwise you're going to burn out, you're going to get bored, and then your work won't be as high quality as it could be. So I think from the board level, it's just ensuring that the administration keeps that as a top priority, and that the culture of the school really is about, you know, continuous improvement for the students and for the teachers as well.
I'll stand up so you can see me. My name is Sunshine Campbell, and I teach high school math. And I have 2 students, a 10th grader and an 8th grader. And I'm also the GSA advisor in high school, so that's the Gender Sexuality Alliance. And if you're in high school right now, you'll see a bunch of kids walking around with stickers that look like this. Tomorrow is Day of Silence. We have a group that's promoting it, and we're going to celebrate it tomorrow by remaining silent through the school day, in recognition of the many students who are silenced because of their gender and sexual identification. So my question for you is, as a board member, how do you see supporting the diversity in our school in terms of gender and sexuality diversity? What is your role in protecting LGBTQ students in our school? I'm just curious to hear what you guys have to say about that. Thanks.
So, I try to say this in as humble a manner as possible, but in 2008 I was actually awarded Champion of Diversity in the continental United States. And diversity means many, many things to many people. It's about being blessed with being different in a talented manner, okay? Now, there are different people who have different positions on diversity. But no matter how diverse you are, inclusion should not be an option. You know, to be excluded from whatever you may be, and to be unloved for whoever you are is not an option. No matter who you are and what you are, you should be loved, and the community should embrace you. And that inclusion should transpire into what I define as equality. And equality does not mean equal pay, but equality means getting rights to what learning experience you deserve, to respect that you deserve, to love you deserve. Now, there are different viewpoints people may have on this, because, you know, we all come from different backgrounds and different cultures. We may talk about it from a more American context. But the community and community acceptance does not need to be an option. I mean, that's my position on this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, as a minority group, you know, as an immigrant in the States, I faced hardships of getting accepted by the way I look or by the language and my accent. I've overcome those. But, you know, I think that inclusion is a moral right. I think that it's a worldwide trend. And I think it's just the right thing to do, and I would fully support that.
And I think, of course, as it's important thing I already said, that there is so much change today around us. Movements like the Me Too movement and other movements around us. And I think mainly the middle school and high school people should be exposed to all the things that are happening around them, to talk about it, maybe to meet people that are involved in those kinds of movement and change, to meet women that succeeded to overcome men from minorities that had problems, to see, because here we have really a very good experience in diversity, but I think the outside world is very different than the AES. And we should bring the outside world a little bit more to the AES to expose them, and they're in India, so they can be exposed to all kinds of things that are happening around them, and to know that they are lucky, but there are a lot of people, other people in the world that are less lucky than they are, and to see and to learn about it, and maybe to be involved even. And the school should give them the platform to be involved, maybe to be silent, maybe to do a Me Too campaign, I don't know, to do all kinds of things, to feel it, not just to be an outsider of those processes.
Yeah, I totally agree with everybody here. I think, maybe I don't know exactly, but I want to see as a board member maybe more children or kids that have all kinds of problems. Like I haven't seen kids with wheelchairs here, so it kind of bothers me, or kids or students with ADHDs. And maybe I'm talking nonsense and I'm out of the scope, but I think that that the integration of all those people and the diversity should be the number one goal of accepting the others, and obviously I think it will increase the enrollment percentage, because it will be open for other communities and other people as well.
I think that the school is already off to a good start with its statement on inclusion. So, and which statement says that we are a community of diverse learners and are going to provide an environment where everybody is nurtured and feels like they belong. So that is a good start. Probably what would then be next is actual implementation of, say, what he was talking about in terms of, seeing more people with these kinds of differences, abilities, and needs. And I guess because it is a school statement, then the board will be inclined to work in accordance with what the statement requires.
Are there any more questions? Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. And I think this concludes tonight's Q&A session. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. And as a reminder, the voting will open tomorrow at noon. And you're going to vote through your PowerSchool account. And so thank you.